In this video, we're going to be going over Tape Series. Tape Series, it is a sample pack that we can find in the MPC store. Just dive right in, listen to some of the sounds, not only some of the sounds, but also some of the stock plugins, the way they're using some of these plugins to create the sounds and make them sound the way they do. I think that's actually very interesting. We can learn a lot from just seeing how they're utilizing some of these stock plugins. So right here, I have a blank session, and I'm actually going to go into my browser. Being right here in my browser, go to expansions and scroll down right here till we find Tape Series. Coming into Tape Series, I'm going to go ahead and audition some of the kits that we can download. Something to keep in mind, as we see over here on your right hand side, you got this 4 squares. That is the kits if you want to audition an entire kit and download a kit. But if you just want to hear the one shots, you could also just select this little WAV format file and you would just listen to just one shots, kicks, snares, hi-hats. Download those individually if you want to go that route. I went ahead and downloaded a few of these kits, and as the name is Tape Series, you will find the sounds of these samples. They do have this sound of tape. Like, if I like the way that sounds, if I open up this plugin slot right here, I can actually see the whole chain. If I turn off the whole entire chain, this is how it sounds without those plugins. If I turn that on, it gets the drums from sounding like if they're over here all the way to right here. And I actually seen how they're using the maximizer. You could open that up and see some of the parameters that they have engaged right here. So I'm actually really liking the sound of that. If I actually listen to another kit right here, one thing to also keep in mind is that as we're actually going into our browser, you'll see these kits, and right next to the name of that kit, you'll see 170, 149, 98. That is the tempo that they have. As you could hear, there's some sample chops. This is actually something that I find interesting. You could actually dive in and study this entire drum program, the way they're using this. If I go into Program Editor, as you can see, this is 170 beats per minute. I put this sequence at 170 beats per minute. But if I jump into the Program Editor, I can go into the sample page and I will see that all these samples, they're warped. So when they're warped, they're going to adjust to any tempo that you want to set that sequence in. Right now I have it to 170, but let's say I want to put it at 150 for an example. It warps down to 150 beats per minute, which is actually really interesting because this whole entire sample chops, even the bass lines up here, are all going to be in sync with this drum kit right here. So if you want to perform this, you could go ahead and do so without being afraid that the bass is going to be at a different BPM and the sample chops at something else. So we go ahead and lay something down right here on the grid. since we know these samples are in B minor, I'm actually going to name this drums. And let's go into track number 2. And in track number 2, I'm actually going to go back into my browser. I want to go in. I noticed that they had a bass a kit right here. Go into bass, and I see it right here. I actually want to go ahead and load that into my session. Yeah. That sounds really good. I'm going to go into track number 3, and in track 3, let's put in a plugin or an instrument program right here. Actually, go right here, and let's listen to some of these sounds. I'm actually going to go into, let's go to Jura, and let's see some of these bright leads right here. Let's actually go into track 4 and throw in another plugin right here, or instrument plugin. Let's go to some, let me try an arpeggiator. Okay. Yeah. All right, so just like that, we start adding our own sounds on top of these sample chops. That's something that I've said before with these kits right here when you download. If you want to go ahead and just download some of the kicks, snares, and use those one-shots individually without wanting to use some of these sample chops, that's totally fine. You don't have to use these chops right here, but I like to use those chops as a foundation. And as you see that I'm building on top of that foundation, I'm starting to add some of my own instruments on top of that just by finding the key of some of these chops, which to me is where I have fun. I like to incorporate some of my ideas. That's what I do with sampling. When I sample off of records, it's stuff that somebody else did, but I like to incorporate some of my sounds on top of that and just play back and forth with those samples. Same thing with the sample pack right here, tape series. I like hearing and listening to some of these sample chops, and then I want to see what I can do on top of that they have provided. So I hope you guys had a good time as we put this beat together. Again, this is Tape Series, which you can find this in the MPC store. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.